And now, it's The Law Show on CL 650, a comprehensive look at everything you need to know about the law.
So I can see in these situations where you have, mom or dad driving and the kids are injured in the car, that's a very awkward situation. That's when you really need to get legal advice. Mm-hmm. So, you might have to sue one of your family members and to get access to that insurance. But when you go to a law office and you see your team at Macquarie Hunter, are you expediting the process? Is it faster than going and just dealing with ICBC directly?
It's not necessarily faster, but to get you a proper and fair settlement, you should talk to a lawyer first.
Is that a myth, though, that getting a lawyer will move things along?
I explain this to every one of my clients in the first meeting. If someone comes and sees you in the first meeting without seeing the clinical records, without knowing the full story that this person has, and they still have ongoing injuries, and they tell you you're going to get X amount of dollars, well, they're essentially full of it. You have to go through all the clinical records. You have to properly assess where these injuries are in fact going. So if they're not resolved and they're ongoing, you don't know what that claim's worth at that point. And so it does take time. And as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to be settling a claim unless that person has fully recovered and you can properly assess the claim, or alternatively, if it is plateaued to a certain degree and you have the proper reports from the experts to look into that, magical crystal ball, because they're the only ones that can really do it, and tell you what this person's future looks like as a result of these injuries from the motor vehicle accident.
So if you have somebody that's sort of in a long, protracted recovery and they're, you could be at this for how long? Over a year?
Well over a year. Let's take the extreme case where someone has. We had a case in the past where someone was in a coma for several weeks, and they were never going to return to where they were at their pre-accident level. They may never be employable again, but we have to wait and see. We have to see what the medical experts say over time, and that takes years in certain cases to get the first report and then get follow-up reports. And then essentially we're at a position where that recovery is somewhat plateaued, or we have the reports to tell us what this person's future is going to look like. Then we can start talking settlement, and that could take up to 3-4 years.
And are they able to get access to funds with their recovery from ICBC while that process is going on?
Yes, they're getting a lot of the treatment covered under their Part 7s in certain cases, as ICBC is the secondary insurer in that. But they can also, you can negotiate in some circumstances, and from the extreme case to other cases where the medical documents support that person's off work for a certain amount of time and they're incurring these expenses in their day-to-day life. And it's very subjective. It's up to ICBC, essentially. They have their discretion to determine whether it's the case, but you can negotiate in advance in certain circumstances.
So they'll pay partially to keep you getting your treatments and things before they settle, right?
Yes, they'll give you they'll pay you in advance essentially of that settlement amount, and we can assist you in negotiating that on your behalf. If, for example, you can't afford to pay your rent, all of a sudden you're about to be kicked out of your house because you haven't returned to work yet, we can go to ICBC and look to help you out, get an advance on the settlement.